Hello everyone, Jeremy is here. Today I'm gonna show you guys how to configure two virtual routers in Linux Mint through the Dynamaps and Dynagene, and also we're gonna configure two virtual IP phones on Windows virtual machine. And so first step, we need to install the Dynagene and Dynamaps through this command. And I already did it, so I won't enter it. And next step, we're gonna create the directory for our routers. We need to create a directory called router, and as you can see, this is my directories, and this is my router image file. You need to download it from the internet, and also we need to config the Dynagene config file. This is my file. I named it jeremy.config, and I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. And this is our Dynamaps, and what happening here is this line is saying that the Dynamaps is running running on the port 2000, and this is working directory. We specified it and here is UDP port, and this is the name of the image. It can be anything, but I renamed my image. It was too long. I just renamed it, and make sure that matches your image name here. And you can see here is my router configuration. Router we specified is R1. You can be anything. It can be like R2000 or 5000. Just a name here, and the model is 7200, and the console port here. Console port here is very important. It's specified which port you can telnet in, and it shouldn't be the same as another router. You need to configure it differently, otherwise it's gonna cause problem. You can see here R2 I specified to 2522 and R1 is 2521, and in here is the interface we specified on the routers F0/0. This means how our router can connect here. It means like F0/0 is connecting to the port tab 1 on our local host, and basically it's router configuration is the same here. From here you can just create another router if you want, but in this video we only need two, so save it after you configure it. And now we need to run our Dynamaps. We use this command to run our Dynamaps, and you can see here I specified the port 2000. Remember, we set this in our configuration file, and now Dynamaps is running, and we need to open our Dynagene, and this command is our Dynagene. You can see the Dynagene is running, and we're gonna start our routers. Start router R1. Here you specify your router's name. Mine is R1, and R1 is started. R2 is started. And what we are doing here is the next step after we started our router is we are trying to telnet into the router and configure it through the console line. And we use telnet to telnet in the port that we specified previous step. So R1 is 2521, and enter. You can see R1, we are in the R1 now. What we are doing here is we need to specify the IP address on the all the routers R1 and R2. I already did it. I'm gonna show you what I did. Enable config T terminal interface F0/0 and IP address. In here, I specify my IP address as 192.168.5.5 for R1.6 for R2, and you can copy mine, or you can just specify the range as you whatever you want. I'm gonna show you my interface. Do show IP int brief. So you can see this is my R1's IP address, and it's already up now. And now I'm gonna go to R2. See, we're in R2 now, and enable config terminal. Same thing, interface at 0/0 IP address, right? Specify your IP address. I will show you my to show IP int br, and this is my interface on R2, and also it's ARP now. And after we get into R1 and R2, you can try. We also configure the interfaces, and you want to pin it from R1 to R2. You have the network connections, but it cannot pin through. Why? Because we don't have connection. We don't have the bridge network. So next step, we're gonna configure the bridge network, bridge interfaces, basically. So what do we do first? We actually need to do something on our VirtualBox here. You can see here performance. First of all, you need to make sure that you're getting the IP address out of your the IP range you signed in this virtual machine. And see in this in here I specify the DHCP server gonna give IP address of 10.0.2.0 /24. In here I specify the 192.168.5.0/24. You need to make sure that those IP address range is different, otherwise it might cause problem. This DHCP server might give the same IP address as this one, so you will have some problem here. The bridge interface may not work, so you just do it in this way, and then make sure that all your virtual machine is in the network. So we need to install the utility for creating the bridge interface. We use this command. I already did it, so I won't enter it. So next step, after we install the utilities, we need to configure our network file. And this file is under the etc network, and this file is named interfaces. You already have it installed by default, and we need to edit it. So the first line, you can see there is auto low interface 0s3 ENP 0s3, and this one actually might be different than yours. You need to check it. Use command fconfig and check the check your actual interface name. And in here, mine is called ENP 0s3. Yours might be different here. And you can think here is thing. Here we create the port to this port, BR0, okay. And here we specify the port is DHCP. Yours might be different. It depends on your network setup. So if your office or network is DHCP, then you need to put DHCP. If you're in the data center or another office, use its static IP address, you need to use static, or depending on you. And so this line, what this line does is basically saying that your interface ENP0s3 is part of your bridge network, and it's called BR0. So here is the what it's called, the alias, and basically what it's doing is you can assign like multiple IPs in it, multiple subnets. It's kind of like a sub interface. So here we specify the IP address is the bridge interface IP address is 192.168.5.9, and network mask is 255.255.255.0. We don't have default gateway. It was have default gateway, but it may cause some problems, so I just deleted it. And next step, after we configure the files, we save it, and then we restart the network services. You can see here it's saying it's filled, but it doesn't matter, it works. And so here we need to, next step, after we configure it, we restart the network services, we need to create a tabs interface and bound it to the bridge interface. So we use command sudo brctl add if br0 and tab1, and this one is for r1 and this one is for r2. Tab1 is for r2, and by default, after you create the tab 1 and 2, it might be shut down in the shutdown state, so you need to manually bring it up. We use command sudo fconfig tab1 up and tab2 up to bring it up. And after this, you can have the network connectivities between your bridge interface and R1 and R2. So now let's try pin the R1 192.168.5.5, and you can see we have the connections. We can pin it from the bridge from our Mint 18, and let's pin R2 here. And yeah, you can see we can also have pin the R2, and from R1 let's pin R2 here to ensure the connectivities 192.168.5.6. Yeah, you can see the ping went through, and we have connectivities between all those devices. Next step, we need to create a TFTP server for our virtual IP phones on our Windows. TFTP server will provide services to our IP phones. Now we need to install the TFTP services. We use this command. I already did it, so I won't enter it. After this, we need to, during the installation, it will ask you, do you want to continue, something, stuff like that, yes or no, please say yes. And the thing is, after we installed a TFTP, we need to configure the TFTP file under the xind.d directory. I already did it. I'm gonna show you how it looks like. So here you can see the services is TFTP and protocol is UDP, and yeah, server is in here. After you configure it, please save it. And this thing is the this directory is the binary of TFTPD. It's very important for you to specify it. The server args means it's very important. Is where you pull the file from, and this is my TFTP boot. This is my TFTP directory, and yours might be different. You create the same one as mine. And here we need to make a directory for the TFTP and make the directory called /TFTP boot. It's the same as here. And also we need to make the make a file here. So we use this command. And now after we do this, let's try to restart the services. We use this command to restart the XNAT services, and then after this, let's try to get file from the TFTP server. And the quick way to verify that TFTP is working is receive a file from TFTP, and what we do that is TFTP with IP in your bridge net interface, and mine is 192.168.5.9, and then after that you can get a file. Mine is get space. This is my file name, Jeremy TFTP, and you can see it's received in 0.0 seconds. So it's pretty quick, and that means TFTP is working now. And now what we do is we need to flash the virtual Cisco C7200 routers, and this probably gonna take around 40 minutes. It's pretty long, and I already did it, so I won't do it. But if you need to do it, so this is the command here. I put it here. Use this command to flash the files. So after we flashed our files, next step we need to enable the HTTP services on our router, so we can get the GUI interface from the Windows machine. First of all, we type this command IP HTTP server, then second command we use IP HTTP pass disk 0 GUI. So and then we need to specify a web admin, and so first of all we need to enter the telephone service config mode. So what I'm doing here is I specified web admin is named admin, and password is Jeremy Pass. You can specify the name and password you want. So next step we need to enable the DN web edit and time web edit. So what we are doing here is enable that we can edit the DN and time through the website. The DN is basically just a phone number on our virtual IP phones, and we need to specify the maximum phone. I gave it to 20, and this is the IP source address 192.168.5.5, which is the IP address of this router and port. So here I create my I limited my DNs to 30, so I only can have 30 phone number on this phone, and I create a system message called Jeremy RE VoIP. So when the phone connected to it, it will show this message, Jeremy R1 VoIP. It's kind of useful to let you know that what router that you're connecting to. So we need to do this one, create CN files. So basically what it does is save all the configuration. If you don't do this, it won't work. And I already did this, and so I won't enter it. Next step, we configure the IP address on the two Windows virtual machine, and here CMD you can see the IP address is .4 and another is .7, and the default gateway should be this one should be the default gateway doesn't matter though. I don't think it matters, but the thing you need to make sure is the IP address won't overlap with each other on this network, otherwise it won't work. So now we need to pin from the Windows pin 192.168.5.5 pin our router. You can see it's working, so make sure that you can pin it from those Windows machine and to ensure the network connectivities. After we configure the IP source address, then we go to the one of the Windows virtual machine. We click the red preference and specify the DFTP server. Here we specify this one as R1, and another one is R2 here. So click OK, and it will register. Here will show up the message you just configured, the system message you just configured on the routers. And here we configure the phones. We added phones on the CCME, and we first of all go to this address 192.168.5.5. This is the R1, and then we entered in here, and we this is the we can add the phone here, click add, and new phones to add. Okay, so we added two phones already. Here is first of all is this phone, and this one is the second phone we added. So if we want to add phone, we need to copy the device name. This is the MAC address of the phone. We copy here and we add it in here. So now we need to edit the DMs. Here we click extension here. You can see we added a couple DMs here. You can add new DN here, and this is the DN number is 4 digits number, and this is the sequence number is 6. You can because we just we configured the number that it supports, and the maximum number the DN number it supports. So after we configure it, we save it here, and on the R2 we configure the same thing, and here we enter the telephone services. On R1 we entered ePhone 1, so now we're gonna configure the ePhones, and we're gonna do BUTTO on button 1 to 1. What it does is it matches the first sequence DN, which is our in our cases was 7821, I think, and then match to the button 1. So what the button 1 is, 78261, sorry, match to button 1. So this button will be the DN, this DN for quick dial purpose. And the same thing on R2. First of all, we specify the IP source address, which is the R2 F0/0 address and port 2000. So for second phone, we're gonna configure it from the command line. So you can see, and for this phone, I already specified the IP source address is R2's F0/0, which is 192.168.5.6, and port is also 2000. And here we specified ePhone DN1. So DN1 is gonna be 4777, and I already did it, so I'm not gonna enter this. And next step, we're gonna add phones. Add phone, we enter ePhone 1, we select and then we enter MAC address. From here we specify MAC address on the phone. This phone MAC address is this one. You just simply copy from here, from the IP address to there, and enter it. And then after this, you need to restart the telephone services. Just simply tap restart. It's gonna restart the services and load all the configurations. So in the global, after we set the we added phone, and it loads the system message, it means good. And the next step, we want to call from one end to another end. And how do we do it is we add the Dialpeer. Dialpeer is basically let you specify a destination, pardon, and session target. Certain target should be the another end IP address. Sorry, it should be R1's IP address. So what we are gonna do here, what's the 7000 here is just a name. You can specify, it just remind me what this Dialpeer do. And the destination pardon is how you're gonna call the which number you're gonna call. You can see 7 we specified dot means if you understand the regular expression, it means the 3 dots can be 3 ID numbers. And yeah, so after we specify this on the R2 and on R1, we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna show you. And you can see on R1 we also have a Dialpeer named 4000, and destination party is 4 and 3 dots. It means I can call 4. The number start with 4 and any number after 4. The second target is the IP address of R2, and when you configure the Dialpeer, please configure it in the under the global configuration mode. That's the proper way to configure the Dialpeer. After this, you can try to call from one end to another, and you can see we have number on the phones, and I can try to call the 7861. So I just type 7861 and Dale here. You can see it's working now, and the phone connectivity is established. And yeah, here. So in this video, I showed how to configure all those things, and thank you for watching.